time to thank each and every person, each and every gift, to the love, the serving, to this ministry, using these gifts and tithes.
So we're going to begin our time together, this part of the service, with a meditation. A meditation to prepare our hearts for the movement of the awakening within us, the resurrection within us of the Christ presence. And so I invite you to close your eyes, if you're comfortable doing so, and to just breathe. Just become aware of your breath. And allow that breath to take you down into your heart. Today is a day of celebration. Today is a day to express our joy and exuberation. Exuberation? It's a new word. But just to really express the joy that is within us. For truly, Christ has risen. Christ has risen within each one of us. And as we recognize that Christ's presence that has risen within us, let us feel what that feels like to have risen life. What does risen life feel like for you? We just breathe into that, allowing it to come more alive, really waking it up, so that it is not groggy like when we first wake up in the morning, but that it is really alive and vibrant, that it resonates within each cell of our being. What is that? Holding the sacred space. I invite you to bring to mind just the first person who pops into your mind. And I want you to see the risen Christ in them. Awaken that Christ, that awareness of that Christ. You may imagine yourself bowing to them. And saying namaste, which is I behold the divine in you. And again, bring somebody else to mind. And see the Christ alive, living vibrantly. allowing that presence of the Christ in front of you to awaken your heart even more. And bow to them and acknowledge, Namaste. And behold the Christ in you. We continue to hold this sacred space. Others may come forward. And as we're in the silence, we just bless them, knowing that with every blessing, we bless the world. And just taking a sacred breath. And allowing that breath to bring you fully aware in this moment, in this time and space. We express appreciation for each person who showed up before us today. We express appreciation for all that we have, for all that we are. And so it is. Amen. So at this time, we have a candle lighting portion of our service. And it's really a celebration. It's a celebration of the movement that happens within us as we awaken and resurrect, as we resurrect into that divine presence that we are. And so as we awaken into that divine presence and we resurrect into this, there is a movement that happens within us, a natural flow. And so this morning, we are going to do a candle lighting. And in that candle lighting, Jeanette is going to read the scriptures. I will do an interpretation of the scriptures. And then we will have a candle lighter who will do the candle lighting portion and do the affirmations. And so if everyone is ready, I do need to ask everybody on Zoom to mute themselves. There's feedback that we're receiving. Excuse me a moment.
Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him."
It is dark, and this is the first movement of the resurrection. We recognize that we are in the dark. The darkness of the tomb can be thought of as the darkness of the womb. Darkness is the beginning of all creation. Darkness has been interpreted as something that is not good. The dark can be scary because we are in a place of the unknown. And yet, when we recognize the darkness as a place that is necessary for new birth, we open ourselves to greater possibilities in our lives. Possibilities that we might not have been aware of until this moment. It is this darkness that Mary moves toward the unknown. She thinks she knows what to expect and finds something completely different. Where are those places in our own lives when we expect something to turn out a certain way? We thought we knew best, and we recognized there is a potential for so much more.
I light this candle to represent the darkness, the sacred womb out of which every new possibility is born. Affirm with me, I am awakening the power of creative new ideas. They arise and I courageously say yes. Let's do it again. I am awakening the power of creation. New ideas arise and I courageously say yes.
And from John 20, verse 3, then Peter and the other disciples set out and went toward the tomb. The two were running together. Then Simon Peter came and went into the tomb. He saw the linen wrappings lying there, and the cloth that had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but rolled up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple also went in, and he saw and believed.
It is commonly thought the disciple referred to in the Gospel of John as the one whom Jesus loved is the disciple John. Faith and love go to the tomb. It is early and the light is faint. Faith steps into the dark and sees the linen cloths where Jesus had been laid. Love follows. This is the natural progression. When we open ourselves to a new state of consciousness, faith must lead the way and love must follow. Faith is the ability to see beyond the circumstance and to remember the truth. The truth is not a relative truth that is made up and subject to the effects of this world. The truth is absolute. It is true all of the time. This truth may be the realization of wholeness, oneness, unity, power, imagination, love, or any other attributes that are revealed through the realization that the Christ has risen. Love is always right alongside faith. Love is the great attractor and sustainer within us. When we activate the powers of faith and love, nothing, no thing is impossible.
I light this candle for the lights of faith and love, the powers that awaken my heart and mind to new ideas. Affirm with me, I am faithful and loving. Faith encourages and love sustains me to take the right actions. Again, I am faithful and loving. Faith encourages and love sustains me to make the right action.
And from John 20, verse 3. Sorry. From John 20, 11 and 12. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. As she wept, she bent over to look in the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. And from Luke 24, verse 5, and the angels asked, "Why do you look for the living among the dead?"
The angels represent the coming of the light or inspiration. When we have faith and love, we are open and receptive to the inspiration that comes with the light. This divine light brings light into the darkest corners, revealing to us thoughts that no longer serve us, and open the way for new ideas to come forth. Following the death of Jesus, the disciples did not fully understand what was happening, even though Jesus told them what would happen. Their eyes needed to be open to see. Until Unity teacher Eric Butterworth says, "We don't put things right, but we see things rightly." When we have new vision, when we see the world through the eyes of the risen Christ, we have new vision.
I light this candle for the light of light, the light that illumines our minds and clears the film from our eyes. Affirm with me, I see clearly the beauty of spirit all around me. I am illumined in heart and mind. Again, I see clearly the beauty of spirit all around me. I am illumined in heart and mind.
And from Luke 24, 13 through 17. Now on that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all the things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them. And he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" They stood still and looking sad. Then one of them, named Cleophas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?"
Two men are walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus. One of the men is Cleophas, who is known to be one of the disciples' father. These men are perplexed about the events that have been happening. It all seems so unreal. How can this be? Emmaus, metaphysically, is a place of consciousness where the healing, restoring love and life and truth of spirit spring up and flow freely through man's being. Once we have experienced the light of inspiration, the healing and restoring love and life of spirit spring up within us. There is an energy that arises within us, an excitement of what is possible. This is a state of grace. Jesus is walking by their side, and they do not recognize him. This does not prevent him from being present. The presence of life and truth are not contingent on our recognition. The activation of these powers is, as we will see.
I light this candle for the light of grace. Please affirm with me. Grace is love in action as life and truth. I am open and receptive to the transformative activity of grace awakening within me. Again. Grace is love in action as life and truth. I am open and receptive to the transformative activity of grace awakening within me.
From Luke 24, verse 28 through 32. As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?"
Inspiration is always available to us as we open ourselves, recognizing the presence within us. The two men and Jesus walked along the road together. They did not know who he was. Is that not also true of us sometimes? The Christ consciousness is always right here. It is up to us to recognize it. Breaking bread is symbolic of ingesting the truth to the extent that it goes throughout our whole being, to nourish and grow until we express it fully in all of our affairs. This bread was the bread of life, the bread of Christ consciousness. What does that mean? We can get caught up in our minds and make things complicated. The recognition of the Christ within makes things quite simple.
I light this candle to represent the light of inspiration. Affirm with me, I am inspired by the presence of the Christ. New and wonderful ideas inspire me to live life anew. And again, I am inspired by the presence of the Christ. New and wonderful ideas inspire me to live life anew.
And from Luke 24, verses 33 through 35, the same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem. And they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." They told what had happened on the road and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread.
The Lord is risen. The Lord is risen indeed. The Lord is risen. The Lord is risen in me. In me and you and everyone, as we turn from our false beliefs that anything can separate us from God. The same hour. It is time. It is time to awaken to the awareness of the living Christ presence within, through and all around us. We awaken the power of zeal and enthusiasm. It is this power that moves us forward. Zeal is what sent the two men running back to Jerusalem to tell the disciples what happened. It is the same zeal that enlivens us to take action. Becoming aware of the risen Christ within us is also an invitation to express this incredible experience. This is not an experience that is just to hold on to. We act on it. Unity's fifth principle is we act on what we believe. How that shows up is up to us. What action are you being called to take this day?
I light this candle for the light of zeal. Zeal lights my way as I expressed Christ consciousness. Affirm with me, I am a light unto the world. Zeal and enthusiasm empower my actions. Again, I am a light unto the world. Zeal and enthusiasm empower my actions.
From Luke 24, 36 and 37. While they were talking about this, Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." They were startled and terrified and thought they were seeing a ghost. He said to them, "Why are you frightened? And why do you doubt? Why do doubts arise in your hearts?" While in their joy they were disbelieving and still wondering, he said to them, "Have you anything here to eat?"
Peace be with you. And they were terrified. When we hear this story, we can hear how the disciples are all over the map. Just a moment ago, they were claiming the risen Lord. Now he shows up. They are terrified and begin to doubt in their hearts. This doesn't really represent a lack of faith on the disciples' part. I think it is an important part of the story in that it demonstrates how, as humans, when we are experiencing strong emotions, we can flip from one side of belief to another in a snap. We come to church and we hear a talk that inspires us and sing songs together and are with people who we truly care about. And we go home and it appears as if it all goes out the window. We get angry or hurt or become confused. This is normal. This does not mean that time at church was a waste or that we are hypocrites. It is about consciousness, and consciousness shifts by moving. In order for us to make the transformational shifts we are called to make, we will move through a process of belief and then doubt and then belief. When we do not resist it, belief will win out.
I light this candle for the living light of Christ consciousness. It is this Christ consciousness that awakens me to my destiny and transforms any doubt. Affirm with me, the light of Christ illumines my path. I am the light of the world. And again, the light of Christ illumines my path. I am the light of the world.
Is a process. It is not a once-a-year affair. It is an energy that we move within daily, inviting this love to bring into our lives peace, joy, more love. May this Easter be a celebration that awakens us all to the deeper knowing of who we are and who we have come here to be. And there's just one piece that I want to add to this, is that this process is not a linear process. It is not about just taking steps in a row. It is a spiral. And that as we spiral around, the spiral widens out. We become even more aware. We become more alive. And we express more of the Christ. Amen.
I know my Redeemer lives. All of creation testifies. This life within me cries. I know He holds the future. In life is worth the living just because He lives. The very same God that spins things in orbit runs to the weary, the worn and the weak, and the same gentle hands that hold me when I'm broken, they conquer death to bring me victory. Arise, my love, arise, my love. The grave no longer has a hold on you. No more death sting, no more suffering. Arise, arise. Well, I know my Redeemer lives. I know my Redeemer lives. All of creation testifies. This life within me cries. I know my Redeemer lives. And life is worth